Oh, it's you. Come on in. Welcome to the Scum Bar.
Welcome to the Scumbar Podcast Marvel Movie Marathon, where we go through the 22 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting with Iron Man donning his first suit and ending with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. We're going to talk Iron Man, Captain America, I am the Mandarin, and everything in between. I am your host, Captain Mattbrush, and with me today is the comatose Happy Hogan himself.
Anth0z?
Hello, Anth0z.
Hello. I was trying to remember if he said anything at all when he woke up and pointed at Downton Abbey, but I don't know. He didn't say
That was
anything.
well done, though. For the audience at home, he had a visual cue, and Anth0z was actually pointing at the screen. That was well done. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I threw that one at you because he had no dialogue, and I wanted to see what you were going to do with that.
Yeah, and I just thought, should I go with, earlier on in the movie, Happy, or later on in the movie, but later seemed appropriate.
Yeah, you did it.
Thank you.
Good job. Anth0z, before we get into it, I would like to just put out a brief warning to all listeners. The Scumbar Podcast will contain spoilers for this movie and the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Also, if you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to leave us a like or a subscribe or a comment or anything on your favorite podcasting platform.
Yes. Aha.
Anth0z.
Yeah.
This week, for our Marvel Movie Marathon, we're going to be kicking off the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2 by talking about 2013's Iron Man 3, starring Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, I guess so. Don Cheadle, Ben Kingsley, and Guy Pearce. The movie was also directed by Shane Black. That's the dude that wrote Lethal Weapon and directed The Nice Guys, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and The Predator 2018. He also starred in the original Predator movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Shane Black. Shane Black.
Shane Black. I'm going to look him up.
Shane. Well, that's why you're looking... While you're looking up Mr. Shane Black, who we're going to have words about later on in the podcast here, why don't you also give the audience just a brief synopsis of the movie?
Okay. Marvel's Iron Man 3 pits brash but brilliant industrialist Tony Stark / Iron Man against an enemy whose reach knows no bounds. Once Stark finds his personal world destroyed at his enemy's hands, he embarks on a harrowing quest to find those responsible. This journey, at every turn, will test his mettle. With his back against the wall, Stark is left to survive by his own devices, relying on his ingenuity and instincts to protect those closest to him. As he fights his way back, Stark discovers the answer to the question that has secretly haunted him. Does the man make the suit, or does the suit make the man?
I don't think it's a coincidence that that's pretty much what Captain America asked him in the Avengers just before this movie. So take off the suit. What are ya?
What are you?
What are ya?
Yeah,
That's exactly how he said it.
Take off the suit. Put on the suit.
Put on the suit. Take it off. Put it on.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Tony had a really good quip afterwards, but it's funny that this movie's plot is literally kind of asking that question again, like who is he without the suit? So it is interesting. Maybe it hurt him more than we thought.
Yeah,
More
true.
than we thought.
It was just a crutch all along. Just like what's? Is there something in the Harry Potter sequence where there's something where am I thinking of this? I don't know. Never mind. Back to MCU.
All good. We're gonna get to the MCU. So with these movies, typically what Anth0z and I like to do is like to break down the movie into 3 different acts. Each one we kind of go through and we just kind of define it as we go. It's very loosey-goosey here. We're just trying to have a good time. But before we do that, I like to have a segment where I talk about what I thought about this movie when I first saw it in theaters.
Right.
And when I first saw this movie in theaters, I specifically remember really not liking it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common with people. I saw a lot of articles when I was kind of scanning through synopsis stuff of this movie, and I saw articles talking about the difference on this movie compared to the other MCU movies in general. But I don't know what it was, but I turned into like a bit of a monster watching this film. Like I really didn't like it, and I was angry. Like I was very angry with how this film turned out, and because I don't really know what I was expecting, but I remember just after seeing it in the theaters going like, that was it? That was Iron Man 3? Like, oh, I was frustrated. And especially in the credits sequence, I remember the credits happening, and it's very comical. And I remember watching the credits, like sitting in the theater being like, that's the best you had? Like, I was just so frustrated. I don't remember why, but everything felt off. And I'm pretty sure that is attributed to the fact that it's a different director now. Instead of it being Jon Favreau, it is now Shane Black. And it really seems like a different approach in director. We'll get into it. But how did you feel when you saw it in theaters?
I'm pretty sure I didn't like it either as well. And okay, so I can't say that I have the most in-depth... Actually, I barely have any knowledge of the Mandarin at all. I knew what he looked like, like going into this movie. And that's just based on what I've seen in like snippets or like comic strips and stuff. So I think I was super confused when there was that twist that happened that we found out later on, that the Mandarin was not really the Mandarin. And yeah, and I didn't get a chance to look this up, but I'm curious to know if that portrayal is at all like any comic arc. You know what I mean? Like if
any comic arc did something similar to that with the bait and switch.
Yeah, or if this literally just the Mandarin is the Mandarin the whole time.
It's very much
looking up.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just looking up on Wikipedia, like notable aliases: Jean Khan, Zhang Tong, and Tem Borjigan or something. I don't like. I mean, this I can't say that this is 100% accurate, but it doesn't list anything to do with Trevor Slattery or Aldrich Killian.
Aldrich Killian.
Yeah, Aldrich Killian.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I could be wrong, but and then the rest of the movie also was there are a lot of cliche moments that I felt that didn't need to happen anymore because we already had the first two movies just to get those out of the way.
It's not building on anything. It's kind of sidestepping. It feels like.
Like I guess they just wanted to find a way to conclude some stuff about Tony, but they did so. Actually, I found like the things that they concluded at the very end were probably like those would have been good things to conclude if they had
a regular movie behind it.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that as we go into it. But we'll get into that as we go into it. Well, whatever. Whoever's still listening at this point,
That's
be prepared for
true.
more of those kind of run-on sentences. So yes, I remember at the time being frustrated. So going into the film this time, I was kind of like, all right, Matt, like you didn't like it last time. Maybe this time, you know, when you're thinking it's going to be really bad, then maybe you're going to be shocked. Maybe you're low expectations, so the movie rocks or something, right? So went into the movie and well, we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. We're going to go into Act 1 here.
Okay.
Now, actually, sorry. So just before we go into break down the acts, I have a subtitle for this movie, by the way.
Okay.
This movie, I have an alternate title. So Iron Man 3, subtitle, Merry Christmas, Tony Stark. And the reason why that's my subtitle is because this movie feels like it's a Christmas movie. Not in the sense that it takes place during Christmas. It feels like a holiday movie because it feels like nothing really happens. It's like just like it's a one-off like Christmas special, you know? It just feels like that to me. It's really annoying. It's like, okay, this wasn't a regular MCU film. So that's my subtitle. It's Merry Christmas, Tony Stark.
Okay. If I had to put one, I mean, okay, I haven't actually seen the movie, but just based on how you were describing it, I thought your subtitle was the whole name would have been Iron Man 3 Die Hard because it's a Christmas movie without being a Christmas movie or something like that.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Which apparently is a Shane Black trait. I can't confirm this really, but I've heard that Shane Black tries to make his movies around Christmas typically. So The Nice Guys apparently is also Christmassy.
Is it? I don't remember. It's been so long since
I've actually never seen the film, so I can't confirm it. But I had read on a Reddit forum somewhere they were saying that this is like a Shane Black trait to make his movies like at Christmas.
That's the one with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
You think so?
I think so. Anyways, let's go to Act 1. I named my Act 1 Low in Iron Man.
I really like that. That's such a good act name. Wow. That's amazing.
I told you, I actually put a little bit more effort into this one. I apologize for the Avengers podcast, and I'm firing on all cylinders this time.
Oh, that's so good. That's great. Mine is just pretty straightforward. The suit maketh the man.
Freeze! Don't move.
You got me. Nice potato gun. Barrel's a little long. Between that and the wide gauge, it's going to diminish your FPS. And now you're out of ammo.
What's that thing in your chest?
It's a electromagnet. You should know. You've got a box of them right here.
What does it power? Oh my god!
Is that Iron Man?
Technically, I am Iron Man.
Technically, you're dead.
Valid point.
What happened to him?
Life. I built him. I take care of him. I'll fix him.
Like a mechanic?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
I don't. Okay, I'm not coming from a place of all this Marvel knowledge. I really don't know all that much, but I believe, maybe you can correct me here. I believe
Probably
the
not.
mechanic is like an alternate name for Tony in some of the comic books.
Oh, cool.
I believe there actually is like a series where he's just the mechanic and he's more Tony Stark and he fixes robots and stuff and he's not Iron Man.
Oh,
so he
so
doesn't have
that.
the suit and all that. So this was paying homage, I believe, to that.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of
Yeah.
like how there's well, I guess there must be several alternate universes, but there's an alternate one of the Hulk where the Hulk and Bruce are actually two separate people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Interesting.
Bruce is I actually have a little sculpture. I got it for Secret Santa gift exchange. So Bruce he looks like he's like a teen. He looks like he should be Peter Parker, and he's like next to the Hulk, his like best buddy. So
Well,
yeah.
I think I don't know if it's necessarily an alternate universe. I think it's just kind of like a Tony takes the day off kind of series, you know, like it's its own side series where he's just puts the suit away and decides to go and fix robots or something. Like I don't actually know the plot to these comic books, but I believe that that's the idea. If that's even a thing, this is just something I heard somewhere. So I never have facts here, just rumors.
Cool. Perfect. That's what podcasts are about. We're never about truth.
We're all about the rumors.
Yes.
So getting into the act here. So the movie starts off with something we've never seen before in an Iron Man film. Possibly any of the MCU films, which is narration. It starts off with Tony narrating the story. I
Good
think we
point.
don't get this again until maybe like, is it Spider-Man or something? Like I feel like there is narration later on, but
Maybe I
not
don't
like this,
really pay
though.
attention to
This
stuff
is
like
like-
that.
something diaries. This is like the diaries of Tony Stark or something. He's like, hello and welcome to my story. The year was 1999.
Took place in Switzerland.
Yeah,
I was young.
Y2K.
It's
I'm
so
surprised there was no Y2K jokes, unless you saw one. I didn't see any kind of Y2K stuff anywhere. I was like, for all these people that are really into tech, Y2K was a big deal back then. Like,
Yeah, nothing in terms of jokes, but it was just when when he jumped onto Tony.
Yeah.
So when he was with Maya, and then like the thing exploded.
Yeah.
And then Happy jumped onto him, and he said something to do with like, with Y2K or like.
oh, he did. Okay, I
but
missed that.
that
then.
was it, I
I was
think.
waiting for it. I was like, oh, there's got to be a Y2K.
They probably didn't need to mention much about it.
I gotta admit, I did actually like this intro. I like that it's a flashback. I like we're going to 1999. It was pre-Tony, so we get to see, pre-Iron Man, I should say. So we get to see like Tony back in the day again, which is kind of cool. We got to see Happy Hogan. He's got this the long hair, the interesting
yeah,
look.
slick
He was like,
Yeah, slick back hair and actually no, he always has a bit of a goatee.
But this was like really, really heavy on the goatee.
Yeah, it's a very well defined
Yes,
goatee. I think that's the
he was
difference,
going
yeah.
for it for sure.
And he's got an earring.
Oh yeah.
I think. Yeah.
We actually meet a bunch of characters here. So we meet Maya for the first time, which is Tony's ex-girlfriend. She's a botanist.
Yes, she's a botanist.
Yes, she's a exactly. We also meet
Aldrich Killian.
Aldrich Killian, who's
Aldrich Killian.
trying to show off his company. I wrote it down.
AIM.
Advanced Ideas Mechanics, which is AIM, and I believe in the comics, AIM is a much bigger deal.
I think so too. Yeah.
In the new Marvel Avengers video game that's just releasing now for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and all that, I believe the main villain in that is AIM, or the company AIM. I'm sure there's actually like a villain behind it, but I saw in the promos for it that AIM was like taking over the city and stuff. So I believe that AIM is a much bigger deal in the comics. So it was interesting to see it here, but it's also interesting that it's like segregated to just this film. So
Actually, yeah, that almost kind of diminishes the idea of AIM.
it's kind of like how
it's
Red
okay.
Skull is only in Captain America, unfortunately, instead of being across the series like he could have been.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, at least we get it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think we can expect for associations like that or organizations like that to, unless they're going to be pivotal for like the main story arc to last throughout several movies. So
I
something
do kind of like. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So somebody like Thanos, like even he wasn't really revealed until later on, right?
That's true.
And so I guess just because it's movie styles, you can't do exactly what you would get from reading comics exactly. Like you can see pages and pages about what Thanos is doing behind the scenes in like every issue, but that's not the same when you translate it onto the big screen. Like the audience might just get bored, right? It's a different kind of audience and different kind of expectations.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also get another returning character in this that I was shocked and I actually totally forgot we see again,
yeah.
which is Jensen.
Jensen!
I couldn't believe it.
Just a cameo.
No, I also missed this joke. I saw it later when I was looking at quotes, and apparently he says his name is Ho Jensen. So his first name is Ho, I guess, because then Tony goes, "Oh, great!" He says, "I finally met a man whose first name is Ho." Oh. Apparently, that was a line of dialogue. He must have just like ran through that line of dialogue really quickly though, because I did not actually hear that in the movie, but I saw it in the quotes later on. I was like, oh, weird. So
you mean that he introduced himself as Ho Jensen?
Yeah, he goes, "Hello, Mr. Stark. My name is Ho Jensen." And he goes, "Oh, good. A man whose first name is Ho. I finally met one," or something. And then he goes like, "Sorry, I'm too busy," blah, blah, and like walks away. And then Ho Jensen goes, "Maybe another time."
Yeah,
like that's it.
Zing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
he does see him at another time.
Yes,
they should have really just gone for the guttural approach there. You know, maybe another time in a bunker. Yeah, when you need me, when you surgery on your heart. It'd be funny, and he should look at the camera when he does it. But anyways, it was really nice to see Jensen. I was actually visibly smiling in that moment when it happened.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, Dad. So that was cool. We get to see Maya's experiments with Extremis. Yeah. Yes. That makes more sense. Yeah. We get to see her experiments. She's working with plants. She is a botanist.
She is a botanist. Yeah.
Happy's got that good moment where he touches the plant. Then she says, "Don't touch him." And then Tony's taken away, and she's like, "No, seriously, don't touch him." And then he touches it anyways.
Yeah, he rips a piece off, and it grows back, and then explodes.
I love that though. I love how you think it's a small thing. Like he just rips it, and you just joke because it's like, okay, funny joke, yeah. And then it just literally explodes. Like his reaction also is great. Like I know it's played as a joke. It's played as a joke, and it's played as like him just like overreacting. But think about being a bodyguard, and an explosion just happened behind you. First thing he did was tackle his asset, and he just kept him safe. I was like, wow, there's a great bodyguard right there. Like,
I mean, did he keep him safe? All he did was just like flatten him onto a bed. I guess that counts as
shrapnel or something. Safe, you know, he's fine. Yeah. He worked as a body shield. That's his job.
Yeah,
Tony was safe. He is Tony's Iron Man suit,
which is kind of weird if you think about it, because, like. No, okay, no, I won't.
You're gonna overthink it.
I will. Yeah, it's okay.
But it was good. I thought it was a funny scene, and I just liked seeing Happy doing his job well. So good job, Happy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's all my favorite spots about the previous little '90s little clip there. I guess we also see Aldrich Killian out on the roof after Tony tells him to go up on the roof. That was sad. So, I felt bad for him.
Yeah. I guess it was. Okay, so I think this is one of those cliche things. Like, it's just so. Okay, so nerdy disheveled guy comes in asking for help and then gets stood up and then turns evil because of it, or he doesn't turn evil because of it, but he obviously holds the trigger. Enough of a grudge. Yeah, there's some sort of trigger there.
Actually, I did write a note about this. Did you find him over the top?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah,
I think it was a little bit weird. Extreme.
And there's actually a really weird contradiction in this movie, and I think that because of how over the top he is here in the 90s, it doesn't make any sense. But we'll get into it when we get to that scene. I'll point it out later. But yeah, I find him way too just, like you said, it's like, oh, they probably just wrote down like he's a nerd. Like he's a disheveled nerd or something. That's like all his description was, and then the costume and wardrobe just went with that. And I was like, this is a little weird. Like it's a little TV movie or something. Like
I understand the idea of having him to limp or have to show some sort of physical inability.
Yes,
because definitely. Then that way, obviously, like he gets the benefit of what he's trying to work on too. That makes sense. There's motivation there. But that doesn't necessarily explain the whole transformation aesthetically and also with his confidence that much. It's just, I don't know, it's a bit too extreme for me.
You know what movie did this better with pretty much the same storyline, and this is probably the only time I'll ever say this, was Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man film with Andrew Garfield, the villain in that is the Lizard. And the Lizard is a science teacher who doesn't have an arm. Mm-hmm. And there's this one shot. One shot is all it takes. And he's looking at something in a glass case. And he puts one hand up to the glass case to kind of like look at he's going to grab it. And the camera shot shows his other hand in the reflection. Yeah. And it looks as if he's got two hands. And his look of desire at that is perfect. And then you now understand that villain. You understand all of his motivations and everything. And it's maybe 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds long. And it's just a beautiful shot. And it's like, okay, perfect. Is he disheveled? No. He's a clean-cut, great-looking scientist guy who helps Peter many times in The Amazing Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And he's also a great villain. Well, sorry, in that moment. But yeah, so with this Aldrich Killian, like, over-the-top stuff, it's like, yeah, you didn't need to do any of that. Like you said, if he had a mild disformity, we would have understood already. because Tony's this playboy like magnet, you know, and everyone's gonna look up to him at a party like that if they're feeling low on their own securities and all that kind of stuff, and they just see someone like him who just doesn't even have to try very hard. So it's easy to make us relate to the villain in that sense.
Yeah. Also, there's that one scene, so when he meets him in the elevator before he says, "I'll meet you upstairs," I can't actually tell if he was being sarcastic about, or if he was joking. Like, did he actually want to meet him and forgot, or did he just send him up there because he's a dick?
He just sent him up there.
Okay, because like that, to me, that doesn't entirely come across. It's not, for me, it's not clear cut enough. Like, if we're gonna go back in time and see Tony be more of like his kind of like jerk self, I feel like we kind of need more to set that up, and then it would make more sense for me to see him send the guy up there, because other than that, maybe he'll like, sure, he didn't want to talk to Jensen. Other than that, there weren't many just like pathos or moments for Tony to show how much of a jerk he is back then. True. In order for it to make sense that he's being a jerk to Killing at that time. Right. Or maybe I'm just being picky and I want more because I just want more clarity. I just
want it to be more realistic. I think it just looks very scripted to me. And actually that's a unfortunate thing that happens in this movie. A lot of the lines feel very forced. We're going to see many moments here where Tony does or says things that don't seem like something Tony Stark would do, but you can tell the movie needs it to happen. It's very much like the Incredible Hulk. So we're gonna that line in general, the way he sends him to the roof, you're right. Like, I think in a typical Iron Man movie that would come across a lot better. Or even if like, I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. improvises his lines a lot, but it feels like in this movie he did not get to. You know, it feels like in this movie he had to say what was on the script. Oh. Probably because that's the only way they could have got the actions to actually correctly line up. What else is he going to say in the elevator to make the guy go up to the top floor, right? So you can't really, there's no real room to improvise in that kind of moment or say a line that's maybe a little bit funnier. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like Tony Stark in that moment either.
Yeah.
And we're going to see that a lot coming up, but we'll get into it. Yeah. So that's all the flashback that I can really remember so far. We get into Tony working in modern day here, and he's working on his new suit idea, which is he puts some kind of weird nanobots in his skin or something, and
micro repeater injection or something.
How do you know that?
Oh, how do I know that? Because I wrote it down on my notes.
Good for you.
As soon as he said it, I'm like, ooh, that sounds important. Micro repeater or something. And I figured he said injection because he was injecting himself.
He throws them into himself so that he can do like weird Xbox Connect like motions.
I think it's more like
it work.
Yeah, I think it's more like Nintendo Switch Joy-Con technology.
I see.
Because there, it's like weighted and all that stuff.
So that's true. Yeah, he's got haptic feedback going on.
Yes, he does. Yeah, it's all that.
That would actually be kind of funny if his arm like vibrated or jolted when like they were getting closer, like it jolted a little bit more or something, and then he could like tell the proximity. That actually might help him a little bit more.
Yeah, true. So I did kind of like the scene. Maybe when I was watching this in the movie, I wasn't such a big fan. I just thought like, oh, this is kind of weird. Why do we have to watch this? But now that I've seen the movies in succession, knowing that there's kind of like a thing with showing off the new way that Tony is going to get his suit on, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think this is the first time we see it as like a whole process. Like, or we don't see the whole process, but we're seeing him actually trying out a new way to do it. Whereas the previous movies,
it's revealed to us.
It's just revealed that it works. Yeah. Right. So this is
also cool. The natural step or evolution after the Avengers. If you remember the Avengers, he's falling out of the building. He's got the bracelet on, and the suit detects him because he has the bracelet on. So in this one, he's now pretty much taken whatever that technology is in the bracelet and just put it into his body, and then says, "When I do the motion, then it comes to me." Yeah. I gotta say though, it seems really weird. This technology, like it seems like it's not super useful. There's just so many moments, and they point them out in this movie where it just could go wrong, and it seems to go wrong.
Yeah.
So it's weird. And like even his first test here, it's like he just has to do the motion. It doesn't always work right away. He has to tweak it a little bit, and he's trying to do the motion. He's like, come on. Then eventually does it when he gets the right command. Like, I'm surprised they showed you how realistic it would be in real life, because I feel like so many times you'd have your arm just the wrong degree angle or something. It just wouldn't work correctly.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm thinking now about this fact that he's injecting himself with whatever technology for the sake of the suit working for him, I think I like that in terms of how this movie, the direction is more so about him letting go
That's a good point.
Of things, right? Like
That's a good point.
The beginning of this movie, we're showing like how much he's reliant on the suit and what the suit gives him.
Right.
So he's trying to even manipulate his body enough that he can still be more efficient with the suit. Right. It's not for the sake of him being able to do stuff without the suit. It's specifically
That's
for the
funny.
suit.
That actually went way over my head, but you're totally right. That I never even thought about that. But that is a really good point. Because that's that is the theme of this movie. We haven't actually mentioned that yet, I guess, but it is definitely all about Tony Stark and not Iron Man. This movie's the whole theme is to show you that Tony is somebody without the suit. I guess we did kind of cover it, but but they hammer it, in my opinion, they hammer it too much into you in this movie.
Yeah.
And you just don't see enough Iron Man for it to be an Iron Man movie. For me, at least. The typical Iron Man things from the first movie are just not there, and it's what I wanted to see. It might be cliche, but it's also what I wanted to see.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
the Rocky movies. They're the same every single movie. It's the same story, and I still go to the theater and watch them because they're so good, and it's a good story.
Good. Yeah, and it's like you're excited to watch like the next new boss, the next new level that he has to overcome.
If somebody told me Creed is exactly like the first Rocky movie, and they thought they were winning some kind of argument, I'd be like, no, that's what I want to see. Thank you for remaking the same movie.
Yeah,
I like that movie. Anyway, sorry, that was a tangent.
It's okay.
So in the scene where he's trying the new suit and the suit's all shooting up to him, this is weird, or not weird. There's a good detail here where the face shield hits him in the face. I never noticed this, and I saw it one time on like a VFX video where like the face shield hits him so hard in the face, you see the blood when it goes to like the close up of his face, and you actually see the blood on his lip. And I had never noticed that before, and noticed it this time, and I appreciated the detail when I saw it. And I was like, oh, cool. You actually see the face mask hit him in the face, and then the blood. And I mentioned it to my fiance, and I was like, I think he actually got hit in the face there. And then when he takes off the thing, you see it on his face. He's bleeding down. I was like, oh wow, like I never did notice that, but. And they do make a joke about it later on, so I realized it actually is like a thing that was intentional in the film.
Did they make a joke?
Yeah, later on he gets the face shield again, and he says, "Not the face, not the face."
Oh,
and then he
I see. It like grabs it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he flips it upside down.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that's all we really have to say about the new suit.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Mark 42. Well, that was Mark 42, wasn't it?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we got the diner scene, I believe, where Tony and Rhodey are hanging out at the diner. We've also got this whole new introduction of Iron Patriot now. So the suit is not a War Machine anymore. They repainted it and named it to Iron Patriot, which I don't know if that's actually like the title of War Machine when Rhodey uses it in the comics. I'm not sure if they're trying to like go more the comic route there or not. I really don't know. But I do know that I actually like Iron Patriot better. If I was to be totally objective about this, I think Iron Patriot's a better name, and I like the suit colors and all that better.
Yeah, okay, so when I thought of War Machine when I was younger, I always pictured him being like it does sound like very aggressive. I think that's the word that they used when he was talking about it this time. But I also pictured something more like savage looking. Like I kind of pictured Predator mixed with War Machine's
I could see
current
rockets
suit.
coming out the back or something in a diagonal
like
fashion,
everything.
something that kind of looks more wild. Or like
wild,
like a knife or something that he can like grab out of his utility belt. Something just, to make it look just more
Yeah, Iron Patriot
savage,
just sounds
I guess,
more regal, kind of sophisticated, and
it's very Captain America onto
very
Iron
Captain
Man.
America.
So and I like that. I think it's very cool, and it also really makes him stand out from Iron Man, which is interesting. So Iron Patriot, Iron Man, I think it's cool. So I actually do like it. I know it's a point of contention in this film where people are telling Tony that it's a good name, and he's like, no, it's a bad name, kind of thing. But I actually do happen to like the name. I think it's funny.
And so does Rhodey. Rhodey likes the name.
Yeah,
otherwise he would have changed his password to Iron Patriot Rocks.
That's true. So the diner scene, I actually do like the scene because you get a nice little like back and forth between Rhodey and Tony there. And they just feel friendly. And again, it's just nice to see Rhodey. I love Don Cheadle as Rhodey, and we gushed about him so much in the Iron Man 2 movie. But it's nice to see him here. He's just happy. He's just fun, and he really bounces off good ideas with Tony. And he's a good voice of reason to Tony. So it's nice to hear him talk to him. I just like it. But I really do like the touch, skipping ahead a little bit to when the children come up for the autograph. And it's a good touch when the kid's like, hey, like, what was it like coming out of the wormhole? It's like an innocent question. Like, of course, the kid's going to want to know what it was like. Obviously, this was like a national TV event. And I do like that it triggers the PTSD for Tony. I think it's interesting. I do think... I don't know. If I was making this movie, maybe this is cliche, but I feel like I'd have the kid, like, as he said it, you'd almost, like, slow-mo a little bit and have the effects kind of warp slightly and have Tony, like, really draw in on that word with wormhole, and then you'd like smack the audience with a cut and like cut right back to like real time again. Like Don Cheadle like shaking him, kind of like Tony, and then he's like, oh, and then like comes. I don't know why, but I think I would go for more of that exaggerated effect. Otherwise, I don't know why I'm breaking down that moment so much, but I do like the moment in the movie, and I think I'd just do a little bit more with it to show that he's got this PTSD.
Well, if I were to guess, you're breaking it down because that's exactly the kind of thing we would have needed to lead towards what happens at the end when he finally decides what he wants to do about removing the shrapnel from himself, right?
True.
Like I feel like those things are kind of all very well connected. It's just about him. So I kind of see the overarching thing about this. Not just about Tony realizing he doesn't need the suit or that he's still himself or can be himself, but it's the idea of Tony letting go.
Right.
So
That's
letting
true.
go specifically being the words
Letting
there.
go, Tony, go.
Can't wear the suit anymore.
Oh my god.
So yeah, it's about letting go of the suit, kind of not controlling, but what's the word? There's a word in the English language that I would put here to make sense.
Frugal.
To show that it is not about the suit kind of being the reason why Tony is
Catalyst?
able to do these things. Not the catalyst. It's okay. We don't need to know the word.
Okay.
But the point is, yeah, he needs
Fulcrum.
to let go of the suit. Let go of all of his distractions.
Yeah.
Because the distractions that are just taking away from what he really has to deal with, which is, what he went through when he was in the wormhole, and how he's going to deal with that. So, anyway, I found that there's a lot of things to do about Tony letting go, and for him to, if we had more of, if they put more emphasis on him going through, like showing that stress that he's actually getting from that moment, it would make so much more sense for why he does what he does at the end of the movie.
True.
But it's only snippets, and it's just why.
I don't actually know, but part of me feels like the studios came to Shane Black and said, these are the things that have to happen in this movie. And one of them was PTSD from the wormhole. And the other one was Tony has to get rid of the suits and remove the chest piece. I feel like they told him those two things. They were like, they have to happen in this movie. That's your beginning and that's your end. And then he made the rest of the movie. Because it does kind of feel like, what the hell's all the other stuff in there for? Oh, they also probably told him that the Mandarin has to be the villain. Because the Mandarin is one of the more popular Iron Man villains, I believe, and they hadn't introduced him yet, so I think this movie was going to start the introduction into it. But I feel like Shane Black kind of... My alternate movie to compare this to is The Last Jedi in the Star Wars series. Because Rian Johnson in the Star Wars... or Last Jedi really wanted to subvert expectations. I feel like that's what... Not to the same extent, but I feel like Shane Black was doing a bit of that with the Iron Man movie here. He was like, I know what you think you want in an Iron Man movie, but I'm going to show you what I know you want. And then it kind of flip-flopped, I think, more than he was expecting. Yeah. And that's how I felt watching it. I was like, I feel like you were trying something. I feel like he was trying to hammer home this message of Tony is good without the suit, but it just fell on its face a little bit. Like, I feel like I get what you're doing, but I don't like it. Is what I want to say to the director, I guess. And yeah, so it does start with this, I guess, and you're right, we need more of this. Although we get into the next scene here, and it does go more into explaining the PTSD. So Tony is working away in his garage, and Tony and Pepper have a conversation about what is is it date night? Is that what it is? I think it's date night. It's supposed to be date night, and they're having a conversation about like romantic evening kind of thing.
I'm just scared. Oh, is this when
Tony ate the dinner without her?
Right, like he's not actually in the suit, but she comes home.
Exactly.
And like, so he's like controlling the suit from his headband.
And he's giving her a massage and all that. I believe it's supposed to be date night. She comes down into the workshop and busts him, and I think he's working out, which is kind of interesting because it looked like he was in the middle of doing a pull-up. And I was like, what? Yeah. He said he's finishing work? Or is it, but he's working out? Like, that's such a random thing. Like, he's not actually even tinkering on anything. He's just working out. It's like, you'd rather work out than go be with your wife? Like, it was such a weird thing. Or I guess girlfriend. I guess they're not married. Anyways, so regardless, he's ate dinner already. He's obviously a frantic mess. And then Pepper says that awesome line, like, I'm going to take a shower. And then he's just kind of like waiting. Yeah. And she's like, and you're coming with me? And he's like, better. Okay.
Yeah, better. Yeah. This scene also, this one takes head. Sorry, I just read your forehead of security comment. I love that. So this scene actually happens after Pepper gets a visit from Killian.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Does it? The new rich Killian.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Killian became rich.
Okay,
rich.
Yes.
and it's quite suspicious for exactly the way that he's kind of not just like introducing the tech, but the way that he is with Pepper specifically. So we can tell that he's not. There's something more that he's into other than just like getting an investment from Tony.
Well, it seems like he might want Tony's intelligence to be able to figure out the flaw in Extremis.
Oh yeah,
I think that's kind of the motivation also behind it, is that he knows Tony's like smart enough to be able to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then at the same time, he also looks like he's getting quite close to Pepper. So obviously, there's some sort of ulterior motive there. I think it's.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I feel like because of that, and also he's got that weird security guy that's like sitting out there, like waiting for him. That this guy, big deal. He's got this weird security who looks like he's kind of like a
Savin. He's
gonna looks like he's the type to get into some scraps that.
And Happy recognized it right away.
Yeah.
Good on Happy. He's like, Tony, this is messed up. There's a guy over here, boy. Does this interesting character kind of thing. Tony's like disregarding all this, which is hilarious. Happy's actually correct about everything he thinks there. So if Happy wasn't comatose throughout this whole movie, then he actually could have helped Tony quite a bit.
Yeah. So that's kind of just like reinforcing the idea that, by the way, this is the guy that you got to watch out for.
Yes.
Even though we had this kind of earlier reveal of the Mandarin played by Ben Kingsley, that like, this is actually the bad guy. So it's kind of like
there's two bad guys.
You're diverting the attention. And I guess like the diversion is fine. It's just like I wish that the character choices were different.
Yeah. I agree. I don't like how Killian is a love interest in the eyes of Pepper. Apparently, and again, I was reading this in the Marvel footnotes. It's on like the Marvel wiki and all that. Apparently, he's an old love interest of Pepper's. Now that never came across to me in the movies. I was like, she seems visibly interested in him, which I remember commenting to my fiance. I was like, I don't like that. Like, it doesn't make much sense to me that she's just suddenly interested in this random guy who comes into the office, and like she does obviously know him from something. But
she actually says, he used to ask me out all the time, and I always rejected him. As she's saying that to Happy as they're walking into the office for the meeting.
So on the wiki, so that makes a bit more sense. On the wiki, it did say there was an old love interest though, and I was like, how does that make any sense? It's like when he was what we saw him at the beginning of the movie, and I was like, he was an old love interest of Pepper's. I was like, when did that happen?
Well, exactly. So it's just that's exactly my thing. Like, what are all these? What are all these scenes for if they're not setting up for like
this guy who like hated himself and life and everything pretty much, and was almost going to commit suicide? That was one of Pepper's love interests from back in the day. Like, I don't think so. I doubt it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that was my thoughts at least, and I was like, that's very strange. And I just didn't like that she was visibly interested. I understand that she could be intrigued by the change. If she was like, holy smokes, like, you look great compared to how you did, like, that's insane. And then she's
I think intrigued.
She was.
Yeah.
But I just didn't like how they were trying to play up this whole like, what if Pepper cheats on Tony?
Yeah.
She was like, go away. This is a superhero movie. I don't want to see any of
that. Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it irked me, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, that just seems like a whole other way to divert like the audience's attention in a way that we don't need.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so you're right. So that scene happens. So some of these might be out of order then. So then we have the romantic night. And the romantic night ensues in eventually Tony and Pepper having a good night's sleep, where Tony is visibly sleeping. It seems like he hasn't slept in days. So obviously Pepper's been able to make him relaxed enough to sleep, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
And which is nice. I feel better for him. I'm like, okay, sweet. He went like 72 hours or whatever without sleeping.
Yeah, 72 hours.
So I was like, geez, okay, so I'm glad he was able to actually sleep. But then he has a nightmare when he sleeps.
Yeah.
And in the nightmare, we get flashes to the wormhole and some of the scenes from Avengers. Which is interesting. So obviously that is really affecting him. And then we get the scene from the trailer, the famous scene of the Iron Man suit grabbing Pepper and whipping her around, and she's like freaking out. And Tony has to do Operation Lumberjack. And
I love how there's just all these weird different gestures for just doing whatever. Like,
it reminds me of like the Xbox Connect commercials where they're like, "Oh, and then we're gonna ride river rapids," and they like they start like simulating all these stupid motions.
Yeah,
I was like, really? It's like he had to plug in a lumberjack motion. Like,
yeah. Really? Later on, I don't know what he does, but it's kind of like a referee going safe. You know, he puts his hands on his shoulders, just crosses in front of his chest, and then like wipes them out. And I can't remember what that was for, but he has all these grand, maybe not grand, but they're just big gestures.
Is it
even
that
like when
much?
he's getting on the suit, he does that whole like
Yeah.
kind of like Chinese looking kind of stance.
Is it that
And
much better than a voice command? I don't understand why you can't just say terminate and then the thing terminates. If you can go suit 42 and then it listens and then it goes terminate and then it terminates. Like that's so much easier than lumberjack motion and then didn't do it right. Okay, lumberjack motion again. Like, what if you're in danger? Like, it just sounded so dumb.
Yeah, I think if anything, like in the grand scheme of things, it would be good for him to be able to do both.
Sure.
If he's in some sort of situation where he can't talk, then he's got to do like some sort of physical action, or vice versa. Like he can't move, so he's got to If he can't move, he's strapped down. And so I guess that's another thing they could have played out better. Like later on, he's strapped and he's trying to move his hands, which I think it's like they just had it just so that he could look funny for a little moment. I don't know. It's just
right.
Yeah. Also, okay, but before that, so he is, as he's kind of like lying on the ground, he's looking at the dog tags, but he's also pointing at the dog tags. So.
Which is
I
weird.
mean, I guess he must have known that Tony could use some sort of tech to figure out what he's pointing at or looking at, but it just seems like such a grab.
Weird. It's very weird. I didn't like it. Yeah, which is it's a weird thing, but we'll get into that scene in a little bit here. So Tony is at the hospital and he gets all sad about Happy Hogan, and then as soon as he leaves the hospital, Tony decides to invite terrorism to his home address.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but he's very angry, I guess, and emotional in the moment, and then tells the terrorist to come to his house and he'll leave the door unlocked. I don't know what he's expecting, and I really don't know why he makes this choice. It's very weird.
It's kind of, I don't know, like being reactive, I find is a Tony thing, so it's kind of characteristic, but...
Yeah.
But
I mean, Pepper's reaction makes sense.
Yeah.
Pepper's like, we're getting out of here. She starts packing the bags and getting ready.
which I like. She's
Me
just
too.
kind of like, okay, this is what Tony's done. This is what I'm going to do to fix it kind of thing, or to help us get through it.
But like, even she's too late on it. It's like... Yeah, I don't know. They were very reactive back to Tony, and I don't know if he was expecting that. So, she starts packing the bags. Tony gets her a giant teddy bear for Christmas.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know why that's a plot point, but it is.
Like custom giant teddy bear or something.
Yeah. And then Tony starts, like you said, investigating the crime scene. Now, I can't remember if this is while Robert Downey Jr. was playing Sherlock, but the fact is that he played Sherlock. So this is a very Sherlock Holmes style detection kind of thing. He's really breaking down everything. He almost is walking with his hands clasped behind his back kind of thing, like Sherlock, and then checking it all out. And then Happy's telling him, what the clue is through his dead body or hurt body.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of weird things. He's able to take out a chunk of the crime scene. He's able to zoom up on that and really look at the dog tag and all that stuff. I'm like, what kind of technology is this? This is bizarre. Like, he can do pretty much anything he wants.
I mean, and that's kind of the thing with Tony, right? Like, or at least his character, that we can suspect that whatever tech he needs or kind of knowledge he needs, that he's able to obtain it somehow, like pretty easily. Yeah. So, which I think is fine. And I guess I find that it's just, again, to the Happy Hogan thing, when he's pointing at it, it just seems like it's just too much of a grab. It's too like in your face, like, okay, he's going to look at this so that Tony can find it. I feel like there should be more of like a better way that Tony kind of stumbles on or figures out exactly how he needs to unlock the secret of what happened with that event.
Right.
Yeah. And then, that's actually the scene where he does that "you're safe" action, and then the whole map just kind of goes away.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. So then we have Maya, who interrupts the home address of Tony Stark. It's an old girlfriend. He hasn't seen her forever.
Girlfriend.
He makes a joke about a 13-year-old child. He says there's no 13-year-old child in the car, is there? And she goes, he's 14 or whatever. Like, that was actually a really good joke. I was like, oh, I like that banter. That's nice. And he actually even visibly cringes. He actually believes her for a second.
And he does remember who she is later on when he introduces her to Pepper.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Botanist.
Yes, botanist. Yeah.
Pepper seems to like Maya pretty quickly. Actually, they kind of hit it off because they both have the right idea, which is get the heck out of the house.
Yeah.
And then, oddly enough, no one's paying attention to the news, which is showing a bomb coming towards Tony's house.
Just giant nuclear or giant missile coming. Yeah.
I don't understand how Tony's got all these gadgets, all these gizmos, and it takes
Can't
Maya,
detect. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes Maya looking at the news channel to actually tell them, hey, do we have to worry about this? And even that's not enough timing. I mean, like, the bomb comes in, hits everybody. My notes are... House destroyed, explosion, boom, 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 bang, boom, water crash.
Yep. So I guess for this scene, what I liked was towards the end of it, we actually do well. Not that it's ending, but just the fact that we get to see glimpses of Tony using his brain because he puts on the suit, but it's not at full capacity, so he can't use it the way he normally would, right? So
exactly.
we're getting to see Tony be a hero as Tony or be efficient as Tony.
Yes.
Right? So the
suit's not combat ready.
It doesn't have enough juice or whatever. So there's a piano coming. So he thinks, okay, I can use this. As a projectile. I'm going to shoot it. Takes down one of the choppers.
Yeah.
The next one was...
He takes out the canister?
Yeah, he takes out the canisters, which he can normally like aim and shoot. Throws it and then blasts it, right? So he's being more... He's showing some ingenuity here rather than just relying on like tech. Yes. Or relying on what his tech normally does for him without having to think about it.
I don't mind it. Like, I actually think it's kind of nice. It is an interesting way to show that he's smart.
Yeah.
But I just feel like this movie then just keeps teaching us this lesson. Like, over and over and over again, it just keeps teaching us the same lesson. I was like, I don't know. I don't need that much of it. I do like Tony Stark, but I also really like Iron Man. So it's like you only get one in this movie, it seems like. And this would have been a scene where you see Iron Man do a bunch of cool stuff, but instead you have to watch Tony Stark doing the cool stuff, which, again, works here, but we just get too much of it later on, so...
Yeah. I guess it would be nice if we just focus more on Iron Man as Iron Man because, like, maybe because we don't get any more Hulk movies, that would have been the time where we would see the separation between what does Bruce do as Bruce, what does Hulk do as Hulk.
Right.
And in this case, it's similar that we have, like, Super Brainiac human, and then when he is in hero mode, then he is completely different character, then able to do different things.
Yeah.
But if we were able to get that with the Hulk, then we wouldn't need to do that with the Iron Man movies. So I guess that kind of justifies why we're doing it now, or why they are doing it now.
Yeah.
Maybe. But anyway, at the very end of this, when he's actually after your water crash, and he's in, so he's underwater and everything's crashing on him, and then Jarvis says, "Take a deep breath, sir," and shoots the arm off of him, comes around and grabs his hand.
Yeah.
There's something there I can't quite place, but to me it seems like there's something supposed to be very symbolic about just that shot, that kind of like screen cap where it's the mechanical arm grabbing the flesh, and it's almost like they're working. It's like they should be working together. Right. You know what I mean? It's not one working on its own. It's not the other working on its own, but like
they
together.
Work in tandem.
Yeah, they're working tandem.
One doesn't overpower the other. They work in tandem. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Interesting. That's probably a really good point. I'm sure that's actually some of the intention there behind that shot.
Maybe.
I didn't pick it up, but I think you're right.
Because they took a long time to focus on that, right? Like it's not just like Jarvis just kind of grabs Tony and whisks him away, but there's actually like they spend a few seconds focusing on that scene. Right. So yeah.
And actually, I did think that you get a bit more Jarvis in this, or at least Jarvis seems more like a friend of Tony's in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And I think this is maybe the movie where it really starts. And maybe it's shots like what you were just describing that actually are building that. But I felt like that actually by the end of the movie, that it was more like Jarvis is his buddy. Meanwhile, in the other ones, Jarvis has always just kind of been more of a servant, it felt like.
Right.
In this one, he actually feels like he's a living, breathing friend.
Yeah, and he takes things into his own hands, I think.
I guess Jarvis has emotion as well in this movie, which is interesting. It's like a first for Jarvis, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe that's... I feel like that, and then also the post-credit scene, it's kind of like... It's supposed to be a lead-up to the next Avengers movie in a way.
Right.
Which we'll get into. Actually, I probably won't talk about it later, so it's fine. We don't need to. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we're gonna end Act 1, and move into a funny little thing called Act 2.
Cool.
Which I have named. Well, actually, my Act 2 is a little bit different. But my Act 2 incorporates more of the later stuff and after the Tennessee small town. So my Act 2 is actually called Miami Vice because it's Tony and Rhodey working in Miami and like taking out the whole stuff. So
okay, cool.
It feels like a buddy cop movie to me in that moment. So it felt like Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Anyways, what is your Act 2 title?
Okay, so mine is there's something cranberry going on here. And it's because that's probably like, so Jarvis's line is probably my favorite line of the whole movie. I do find for a stretch, but at the end of the sentence I say the wrong cranberry, and I remember in the theater loving that. I love it every time I hear it, and I think it's I think it's appropriate for this act 2 because it's just like, wait, what? But there's a lot of like, wait, what scenes for me in act 2 that's just like,
remember when I was talking about subverting expectations and the Ryan Johnson effect? That's very much a present in this act here.
Yeah,
so we see a lot of that coming down the pipeline. So act 2, we're going to start off with Tony crash lands in a small town in Tennessee.
Yep.
I can't remember what it's called, but small town.
Oh, I totally forgot, but he had a flight path for it earlier because that's where the first soldier
had blown up.
Yeah.
I don't have much, but Tony, he finds a poncho. He wears a poncho in this.
He steals it from a wooden Indian.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is supposed to be a Clint Eastwood reference, but it's like The Man with No Name, Clint Eastwood movies, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and for a few dollars more and all that. He's always wearing a poncho, and he goes into a small town, and people don't know him, and he doesn't really have a name, right? He goes and he fixes the small town's problems. There's usually some kind of big baddie that comes in. He saves the town from the big baddie. So I feel like this was the motif they were going for here, with the small town feel, and he wears the poncho. I know he only does it for a little bit, but I think that was intentional. But that was my one little weird reference.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Did not know that. That's cool.
He makes a phone call, an endearing phone call to Pepper.
Yes.
Who actually we get to see receives that phone call pretty quickly, which is nice because we know that they're both safe. We know that they both know each other are safe. I don't know. It works well. I do like that. And
then I thought about how in Endgame he kind of records himself trying to call Pepper or get a hold of her, but I don't think that message ever gets to her. So I think maybe that Endgame scene is kind of like a callback to this one.
Oh, right.
Maybe.
Maybe. Then we get Stark meeting Keener. The kid's name is Keener. I don't remember that at all, but it said in the wiki that his name is Keener.
Oh,
maybe
his
last name.
Harley Keener?
Yeah, Harley Keener.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wrote Keener down.
He's such a Keener.
At this point in my notes,
he's a Keener.
True. At this point in my notes, it's all last names. It's like Potts, Stark, Keener.
Okay.
Rhodes, I think I do say Pepper. Anyways, so then we did the scene earlier with Stark and the Keener kid meeting each other. And so it's kind of a fun little scene, but again, I remember the feeling in the theater, and I had it again watching the movie here where I'm like, is this where the movie's going? Like, I'm like a little bit scared where it's going. Like, you've only got so much time in the movie, and now where are we going? Like, we're talking to kids now, and we're just rambling in a garage.
Actually, that's a good point. We're already so far into the movie, and now he's at this point where he's like starting back from grounds, or starting back at zero, meeting a kid, and the kid's the one that's going to help him get through to being the Iron Man he needs to be again, in a way, or at least it seems like that's what his role is supposed to be.
It's not like the best attitude to have as a viewer, but it is how I feel when I'm watching it. I'm like, I just feel like we're running out of time and we need to tell more story with some cool stuff. And I just feel like, like you just see it coming. You're like, oh, small town. And like the first thing I'm thinking of is, I really hope the giant battle at the end isn't in this small town. Like my mind's thinking, I really hope we leave this place sooner rather than later. And it isn't actually all that long in the small town scene. So I'll give the movie that. They don't take too much time here.
Yeah.
I do like little things in this. I like how the Keener kid gives him his sister's watch. I think it's funny. The Dora the Explorer.
Limited edition.
Yeah. There's some good lines. The kid talks about his father going off to get a scratch and win. That was 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I guess he won.
It's a funny line.
Yeah.
And I love how Tony just takes that in stride. He's like, fathers leave all the time. Like, he's like, get over it.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's why they chose that character, because, like Tony... Like, obviously, Tony was supposed to see a lot of himself in that kid, right?
For sure.
Like,
yeah. Then we get a little bit of investigation, more Sherlock Holmesy style stuff. Tony starts going around the town. He's talking to people. He's investigating about this soldier that had blown up. He's going to the memorial there and checking it out. There's an interesting scene where they look at shadows on the wall. And the kid says that there's supposed to be 5 shadows, but there's only 4. But no, the 5th one,
there's supposed to be 6, so the military guy would have been the 6th. There's 5 shadows, I believe,
and they say that he doesn't cast a shadow because he went to hell instead of heaven. But I feel like I get it. That's an interesting line. It's cool, but I also am like, but shouldn't some scientists have been like, what if he was the explosion? Or like,
Yeah.
Or came up with a different theory, you know? Like, it's like everyone in the world heard that theory and then was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like,
but
nobody investigated further.
I guess because it's like small town, nobody cares as much. So
yeah,
maybe
but think about this. There's only like there's like towns in Japan, right? Where the bombs hit, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's the shadows everywhere there.
Everywhere.
They're famous. Like, people go and visit these things. If it ever happened in the States, it would be an exhibit, or people would at least know about it.
Yeah.
And even if mainstream people didn't know about it, anybody who's interested and has any kind of scientific background would be interested in this and would check it out. So it is just weird that Tony's the first one to be like, it's weird though, isn't it? And like someone's like, yeah, but like he went to hell. But then Tony's like, it is weird. Like,
yeah.
He's curious enough to try to figure it out. Anyways, movie, I get it. It's a good line though. I do like it.
So and then he starts kind of taking on some of the superhuman, or whatever you'd call them, like the what do you call them? I wanted to call them super serum people, but they're not super serum. They're completely different, right?
Random sci-fi aliens. It seems to me like
serum.
My fiance was saying it felt like watching a sci-fi film, and it's like I know it's like the tone of the movie shifts to like War of the Worlds or something. It's very weird. Like they're now just these weird fire creatures.
So I feel like had he done some more of the research, like if he were the one that did some of the research on chasing that guy in the Chinese theater area instead of Happy, then he would have had a heads up on what these guys are capable of. So then, and I think being in the situation, if he had known that they were there, I feel like it would have been a better flow if before, I guess like trying to take them on, that he goes to that superstore area and starts buying all these things. You know, like this happens later on in the movie, but Harley tells him, "You're a mechanic, right?" And he says, "Yeah." And then he says, "So make something." And he said, "Oh, like, oh, okay." Yeah. So I feel like that would have been better for this. Would have been better for him to take that notion and like go buy a bunch of stuff. If the suit's still not working, that he can make enough gadgets that he could take on these people. Like that would make more sense than him going all spy mode later on, trying to invade a castle. Like what is...
And actually, you know what is funny is they could do a lot of motifs to the first Iron Man where he built his own suit. Like there could be a lot more with that, and Jensen would almost be like the kid in a weird way. Like I feel like there would have been some interesting parallels they could have played to the first Iron Man. But no, you're right. It goes sci-fi and then it goes spy. I really like your analogy there on that. It does seem like that. It's weird.
It is, yeah.
It's weird. Anyways, he fights the aliens. He uses his cunning smartness to fight them. They're not aliens, but you know.
Yeah.
I do like, you know, that he's using his smarts to fight the alien in the kitchen and whatnot, and he makes the bomb and all that. Like, it's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
I like how he shoots the one guy and he's got the blaster on his hand and it comes out and shoots him. I just, it's so much of the same message, you know.
Right.
Keep bonking us over the head with that message. He's Tony, he's not Iron Man. It's like, okay, I get it, but I want Iron Man.
Yeah.
I paid for Iron Man.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he shoots the guy, and then he has saved the town and discovered the mystery. So he decides to leave the town. So we are kind of skipping the town scene here, but it is also fairly quick, and not much is given here, other than that Tony meets the kid and understands that the explosion was happening because of the necklace. Or the problem of the experiment. Yeah. Anyway, so Tony leaves the kid behind, and the kid tries to guilt trip him, and then Tony doesn't fall for it.
I'm cold.
Yeah. Because you know how I know you're cold? Because we're connected.
Yeah. I love those lines. Those are good.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We skipped a scene. We were going to do a scene.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I totally forgot all about the scene. My bad. So let's do our Act 2 scene now.
Sure. Great.
You play Tony, I'll play Rhodey.
Okay.
I'm going to find a heavy-duty comm set now. I need your login.
It's the same as it's always been. War Machine 68.
And a password, please?
Well, look, I got to change it every time you hack in, Tony.
It's not the 80s. Nobody says hack anymore. Give me your login.
War Machine Rocks. With an X. All caps. Yeah, okay.
That is so much better than Iron Patriot.
Yeah, and it is. Not.
Iron Patriot rocks with an X, all caps.
So I think I was taking less intense notes at this moment, so I'm probably gonna be jumping around in scenes a little bit here, so I apologize if I do. I've got now that, so he understands now that he does some like researching, and he finds out that the AIM test subjects are caused by the extremist program. I believe is this before he gets in the van? Yeah, no, the van is to find the Mandarin. So yeah, no, he's just researching, I believe, and then finds those files from AIM, and he starts watching the test subjects kind of burn a bit and explode.
Yeah, that is. Wait, no, that's okay. So that's after he's gotten in the van.
Oh, is it? Okay.
When he gets the van, like the Gary. Tony right now. Tony needs Gary. And Gary needs Tony. So yeah, that scene, like then he goes up on the van and fixes stuff. That's how he gets the feed to take a look at how those experiments were going.
He also uses that to be able to find the headquarters, the Mandarin's headquarters. So doesn't he? That's how he tracks down the headquarters.
Probably.
I believe that's where he finds the signal, and then he has to get it checked over with the kid, and because he's like, "Oh, where's the signal?" It's like, "I don't know, Tony. It looks weird." And then he's like, "All right, kid, I need you to check on the signal." And the kid's like, "No, it actually is Miami." And he's like, "Oh, it's in Miami." Yeah.
I think I might have stopped paying attention for parts of this movie.
Okay, so the kid,
sure, maybe.
The kid is looking at the signal and discovers that it actually is here in America, where this is coming from. He thought it was going to be Afghanistan, and it turns out to be in America, and it's in Miami. So he's like, "Oh, weird." So then Tony heads to Miami to go infiltrate the Mandarin's headquarters. That's why I called this Vice, Miami Vice.
Miami Vice, yeah.
So then he goes and he does some cool spy trickery stuff.
Before that, so there's a clip I just wanted to mention randomly. Here we get a Stanley cameo, which is just before that.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff.
I missed it. I was looking away when it happened.
And I can't remember exactly when it takes place, but there's some sort of like pageant or something going on. They're like people are watching pageant on the bar TV.
Right.
Or the guy's got it in the van or something, and then it's Stanley showing like he's giving the girl.
Yeah, he gives the number.
Something. Yeah. But I was gonna mention, I think it's earlier. Where is it? Okay, well, in case I forget. So you know how every time we see the Mandarin, like the Ben Kingsley Mandarin, that they kind of disrupt the TV stations, and then they go through these like weird flashbacks of different like scenes, and then it's like the rainbow colors, blah blah blah, and then it's the Mandarin.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw the ShamWow guy in one of them. I feel like that must have been like on purpose for whatever reason.
ShamWow.
The ShamWow guy. I think
that's awesome.
I think it was. That's important.
I wonder if that was to maybe that was a hint that it actually is American broadcasting.
Oh yeah.
Ooh,
very
controversial.
Very well could be.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So then Tony does some spy stuff throughout the headquarters, and he ends up meeting Trevor Slattery.
Yes.
I remember hating this in the theater. This I despise. The moment he came out and was speaking with a British accent, I was instantly angry.
Yeah. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Yeah.
I think I wanted a really over-the-top, really villainous character, and he actually was looking kind of cool in the video clips, but I wanted more, right? I was like, all right, when are we really going to get to know this villain? But then when the villain has that accent, I was like, wait, what? And like you can almost see it right away. You're like, okay, it's a bait and switch. I was like, well, that's okay. Mm-hmm. And then here's the thing Marvel likes to do a lot that sometimes gets me frustrated depending on the movie. When they think a joke is funny and then they keep doing a bunch more jokes about that funny thing. Mm-hmm. If you're on the train, it's hilarious and you love it. Yeah. If you're not on the train, it's just annoying and they keep kicking you with the same thing. So if you don't like Trevor Slattery, which I happen to be a person who doesn't, then every time he makes a joke, it's just grinding gears in your head and you're like, oh my God, just stop making jokes. I want to see more Iron Man.
Yeah, for sure. And that whole scene for him leading up to that, like what I thought was really weird. Okay, so he goes all spy mode, but the thing is like so sure, I guess he has some sort of newfound confidence, but it seems a bit too much for him to just be like so suave and taking out all these guys.
He's still just a dude.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a man. He knows he doesn't have his armor, so he could totally get killed. He hasn't done his research. He doesn't know where people are stationed with like extra guns and stuff like that, right? He's just going in and finding guys and taking them out. But it just seems like, okay, like Tony's a smart guy, but he's not a spy. We don't need him. We don't need to see him be an action hero without the suit. You know what I mean? Like we can see him be smart and figure out his way through, like he can solve problems. We can see him do that. I don't think we need to see him be a full-on like Captain America or be James Bond without the suit. We don't need Tony for that.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And that's probably the main issue with seeing it. It's kind of boring watching it. It's not why I watched this movie.
Yeah.
So then Tony gets captured. in the mansion here.
Yeah.
Killian then comes out, and it's pretty much revealed that Killian is actually the main bad guy to this movie. So he starts telling Tony, but also kind of just telling the audience that he's the main bad guy of this movie.
Yeah.
He reveals his plans to Tony. Oh, Tony gets tied up and all that. And I think he reveals he has Pepper in this. Yeah, he does. He does. He shows Pepper. He shows the thing.
Yeah, he shows that Pepper's like glowing, that they're going through the phase of the injections.
Is really, that's a touching moment. I do like the emotion in this scene. When he shows Pepper, like, you feel for Tony. You're just like, oh, that sucks. Like,
yeah,
he's pissed. And then what's really great, the best thing they could have done is they cut to Maya, who's been revealed as a villain now. And when they show Maya, she instantly looks like regretful of her decisions.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I love a good villain that you can relate to, and you can just see it on her face, which makes you just feel more in the scene. It's really good.
Yeah.
I do like that.
It does help to get a little bit more connected with like what is good and bad in this movie, and I think even though she's the villain, she's kind of like the reluctant villain, right? Like she didn't ever sign up for people to get bombed or killed.
Definitely.
That's just something that Aldrich...
It's the science that she loves.
Yeah, exactly. She wants to figure out... She wants to solve a problem. She wants to solve a scientific problem. Killian has the funds or like the means for resources for her to do that. It's just that she didn't know that she'd be signing up for a murderer. Or signing up with a murderer.
How do you solve a problem like Maya?
Like a murderer.
So I was actually a little bit shocked. I forgot what happens in this moment. So when she starts to then threaten to kill herself so that Killian has to not kill Tony or Pepper, Killian just kills her.
Yeah,
I was
she's
really
expendable.
shocked by that. Yeah, it was very, very shocked though. I was like, wow, okay. So he kills her, and then Killian comes off as quite a bad guy. I think I said a joke here about that. Killian kills Pepper. Is what I meant to say.
Oh, see.
And I said Pepper. I meant to say Maya.
Killian kills Ian.
Pepper.
I mean Pepper. I mean Maya.
Yeah. Anyways, his name just Killian is such a weird name. But anyways, regardless, so he kills Maya, and then he sends out Seven to go and get the president from Air Force One.
Yeah.
This on paper sounds like the worst plot ever. Like, if I read the script, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, Air Force One and the president? Like, what is this movie from the 90s? Like, it just seems so bizarre. I do get it, because after the Avengers, what are you supposed to do? Like, everything has to be a global threat, or else who cares?
Yeah.
But still, it's just very strange when it's like, I don't know, any cliche action movie, it's like the president of the United States has been kidnapped, like Air Force One is held hostage, you know? And then this movie actually goes there. It's like, it's a war on terror and president is getting kidnapped. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, because creating humans or creating bombs out of humans isn't enough.
Yeah,
there has to be more to it.
I know, and it's okay. So now it's a president rescue mission, Mr. President.
Yeah.
But also, just a side tangent here, there is a weird, like, parallels to, like, real life that this movie's trying to do with George Bush and 9/11 and all that, and the war on terror. Like, Killian even says war on terror, which was the whole movement behind George Bush's thing.
Okay.
And it's almost this, like, there's this, I'll just call it a conspiracy, but it's also just kind of like this opinion that people have that George Bush really utilized the war in 2001 after 9/11, that he utilized the war to be able to get more than what we actually needed. So the war became just war on terrorism, but it ended up getting more out of these countries in Iraq and in Afghanistan. The war just lasted way too long, and they were utilizing these events of 9/11 to really just wage war longer. And this movie, I feel like, is really trying to make a lot of symbolism to that, you know, with the Mandarin coming off as an Osama bin Laden like character who makes these videos to like mock the president, and then the president's going on to this rampage, and then to make it even more driven home, Killian now is going to have both sides. You know, he's like, I'm going to have the president in one pocket and then the Mandarin in the other, so he can really just like dictate how the world goes. I was like, that's like really what a lot of people blame the United States for with the 9/11 thing, is that it was kind of like they control all sides of it. I was like, it's not bad. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like seeing it. I don't really want politics in my Marvel movies or my superhero movies. And this is also like old politics. This is like back from early 2000s. But it's like, it was just weird to see it. I was like, why are we talking about this? It'd be like talking about like peace during the Vietnam era randomly. And it'd be like, wait, what? Like, like soldiers not needing to go to war. It was a weird political message that like came out of nowhere that I just wasn't expecting. And I thought I was making it up at first until it just kind of kept going and going. And I was like, I think this is really the whole point. And the Mandarin actually even does mention Osama bin Laden for a second
Well, he says like a bin Laden. He doesn't say Osama specifically, but
yeah, I think he just says bin Laden, but
referencing certain figures, certain known figures in history. Yeah,
I do think they're trying to make President Ellis like a George Bush-like figure, which I think Obama was president at the time of this movie. Yeah, he would have been 2013, so he would have been president at the time of this movie. But I believe they were making Ellis more of a Bush-like figure. I think that's what they were going for. Anyways, could be wrong. Maybe I'm just seeing stuff where it's not actually is, but it just seemed like that, and I was like, what a weird message. But okay,
it is. Yeah.
Regardless, so as we already mentioned before, Tony has to free himself, and now he has to use his famous motion connect Wii technology.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really work all that well too. So it's just kind of like and jazz hands.
And so this is another one of those times where I'm unsure, or it's unclear to me whether Tony is being serious or not, because he asks the guy like, how far is it from wherever to where they are, and the guy tells him the exact amount. So
that's a weird line too. I know it's played for jokes, but it's just weird. Like
yeah.
I think it was funnier in their heads than it was when it actually happened.
So so he gets his let's see. I'm just going through my notes here, but yeah, so okay, Tony in the dungeon, Maya shot, should have injected herself after. Oh yeah. Since she was dying. I wrote that she should have just injected herself anyway. Because like it could have saved her life. It could have healed her, right?
That's a really good point actually. She definitely should have done that.
Yeah, but I guess she was too
dead. She was
too
too
dying. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
status, too much dying.
Yeah. Anyway, Tony in the dungeon. Oh, you know what? Oh, I might have screwed up where I put my Act 3. Maybe Tony in the dungeon. Oh, my Act 3 could be. I actually might have started my Act 3 just before he gets the suit back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when he's like caught and he finds out everything, that's kind of like the end of my Act 2.
That does make a bit of sense. I can see that point of view. Yep.
So but anyway, so when we're in this dungeon scene, or should we go over Act 3 titles, or should we wait?
Yeah, let's move into Act 3. That's fine.
Okay.
So for Act 3, I have it called Merry Christmas, Tony Stark, which is my subtitles of the film.
Okay.
Because it does actually then conclude as a Christmas film at the end of this movie.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's what I got.
Okay. Mine is it's just the quote from Rhodey. You breathe fire? Oh, okay. And it's not
That's
just
how I feel about this whole movie.
Well, exactly, because it's not just like his tone, but it's just like it's just that's how I feel about it. Like, oh, this is what it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like, oh, that's what you're putting here. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I felt. So anyway, so for this part,
wait. Let's go into our scene real quick before I forget again.
Good catch.
Don't.
It's okay.
I'm hot. I'll hurt you.
No, you won't. See? Not hot.
Am I gonna be okay?
No, you're in a relationship with me. Nothing will ever be okay. But I had this 20 years ago when I was drunk. I can sort it out. I fix stuff.
I do really like that line. I actually really like that interaction between the two of them. I think it's really endearing.
Yeah.
I believe it. And I love how he just says, no, you're not going to be okay.
No, exactly.
And then when he says, like, I had this before when I was drunk, he lightens the mood.
Yeah.
She laughs. And then he says, I can fix things. That's what I do. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, so you just like that line is a 3-parter line. It's so well done. Like,
yeah.
So, anyways, props to the writer on that. That was good.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, continuing on.
Anyway, so yeah, he's in the dungeon. And then we have the scene where Iron Patriot is getting kind of like burned out.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird one. You feeling hot there, buddy? And he's like rubbing his tummy.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
It is. It's just, I don't know. It's weird that he has all of a sudden so much control on where he can like put his heat. You know, he breathes the fire. He can touch certain things, and I don't know. It's just something seems weird to me about that, because Maya was already. She was telling him before when she was threatening to shoot herself, like, oh, what happened, or to inject herself. What happens if I'm not here? What happens if you get too hot? So she is basically giving us the idea that he is unstable. He's not in control of everything. So why is he in so much control of the way that he uses it? Like, it's just,
I didn't even think about that, but that's a very good point.
It's weird. So yeah, when he gets the suit back, he already knew I think he was kind of like going through the calculations. But it should have been that, like, he knew the exact mileage, so he knew how long it would take for his suit to get to him.
Right.
So the delay, sure that there's a delay in and because like some of the parts were behind a locked door. I don't know how some of the other parts were free to get to him. That's kind of.
I know. It's weird. I also don't like that, like, his parts can't get out of the locked wooden door.
Yeah.
Like they're rocket propelled metal objects and they can't get through this wooden door. Like this random little child's lock is actually stopping this. Like,
I know. It's weird.
I know they just needed a scene where the kid could go and help him again, but like there could have been so many other ways to do it. Like it just seemed weird.
Yeah. So again, I wanted to mention this is another one of those scenes where I'm very unclear of what Tony is trying to, like, if he's being sincere or not. So alluding back to when I said earlier, was he really trying to get Killian, like back in Switzerland, to go upstairs and just leave him there, or was he really interested in going to like talk it out with him? And for this one, he asks for the mileage, so he knows exactly when the stuff is supposed to come. He counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 like 20 different times.
Yeah.
And then he finally counts it down like really fast, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then he gets it. So to me, it sounds like, okay, he knows it was supposed to get there that soon.
So he's just joking.
But exactly that, like,
why
there's
is he
so
joking?
many. Yeah, like,
way to take the threat out of the situation. Like,
he's probably just trying to waste time. But the thing is, to me, it's still not clear to me is if he is trying to waste time or if he really doesn't know when it's supposed to get to him. And
why is he trying to waste time though? He's not in danger. There's no imminent danger.
Well, exactly. He's not. Like, they didn't plan to shoot him. I think they wanted him to see.
Where the movie's written with the idea that there's an audience watching it, right? It's not written to make sense for the characters in the actual script. It's written to make sense for the audience watching it, which is frustrating sometimes because it doesn't come off as real.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's my rant for that scene.
Well, that was a good point. I never actually saw that or realized that in the moment, but that does make a lot of sense. It's kind of weird. Yeah. James Rhodes escapes capture, barely, I might add, but he escapes capture. Yeah. Does some cool flippity flips, and I do like that we get to see Rhodey just being Rhodey. That's kind of cool sometimes to get to see him. Mm-hmm. You know, this is the movie where Tony gets to be Tony, so let's see Rhodey be Rhodey a little bit.
Yeah.
We also have Tony finally freeing himself. There's that one henchman after the brief battle, then it just goes like, these guys are so weird. I don't know why, but that line always sticks out to me. Like I will remember it always. I don't think it's an amazing line, but it's not bad either. It's just it's so unique that, you know, Marvel's never done it ever since, you know, like that's just really unique. I can see now the microphone. It does look like a tattoo.
Oh yeah, you're
like, so weird.
Exactly.
So
I keep
funny.
seeing it.
For the audience at home, my microphone is positioned perfectly with the angle of my arm, and it looks like a sleeve tattoo.
Yeah, it totally looks like it.
No, I don't like it. Anyways, yeah, so that henchman there, it's a funny line, but it's also just, I don't know, I'll remember it always as a weird line. It sticks out. But it does make sense. I mean, there's a lot of death in these movies. People are just straight up dying. Like,
there's a lot of death, actually. Yeah.
I guess I forgot later on in the Marvel movies when we're just killing so many like off-world creatures that you kind of forget that like we used to be killing people in these movies.
Yeah, and then we upgraded, killing otherworldly beings. Yeah,
they're beings that don't exist, so now it's better.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have now Savin goes on to Air Force One. He just straight up murders people. It's actually quite brutal. It was almost like watching The Dark Knight or something. He's like an Uzi killing people and stuff, and just it's crazy. And then he takes the president and he plants a bomb on the plane. Yeah.
Also, just before that, we see the VP, the vice president, is corrupt. Yeah, he is working with Killian.
This had shades of the Hail Hydra stuff we'll see eventually in Captain America 2. It seemed like that quite a bit, where it's like, oh yes, like everything's fine, and then like hangs up the phone and like snickers or something, you know?
yeah, never better, or something like that. Yeah.
Actually, I wouldn't have minded a Hydra in there. You know what?
So I was gonna say that earlier, and how you were saying like you don't really want politics to be in the Marvel movies, and I was thinking that it would be okay if the subject matter of politics weren't in it, but if Hydra were infiltrating members of like the state, I think that would
totally
be more
fine,
appropriate.
Course,
yeah, exactly.
That is more appropriate, and I think it's like it's a missed opportunity to throw Hydra into this. Actually, I think there would have been some world building that this movie could have used.
Yeah, because that's kind of like Hydra's thing. Like they just infiltrate everything. That's how they grow.
And if Hydra was up to the vice president level, that's pretty brutal. So. Okay, well then we now have Tony coming to the rescue to come and rescue the passengers on the plane. And quickly he has to assess the situation that people are... No, that's not true. He fights Savin first.
Well, he fights... Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And this is an interesting moment. He kills Savin pretty quickly, pretty easily. And it makes me realize that if he did have the suit, he would have killed Savin back in the little small town. So I know they're trying to make the point that without the suit, Tony is still capable. But they're also simultaneously making the point that with the suit, he's a lot better. So
yeah, true. Yeah, there's
It's
so
an
much more he
interesting
can do
point
with
to
the
make.
suit. Exactly. Yeah.
if all it took was one chest piece reactor explosion to kill the dude,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, so he's obviously at quite the advantage with the suit.
Yeah.
So what? He had to fight 5 attack helicopters. That the suit would have done that quickly. We saw that in the first Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
And he had to fight these 2 alien things in a small town. Yeah, he obviously would have destroyed them quite quickly. So
Yeah.
all the threats in this movie are only threats because he's not Iron Man in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he kills the Magma Patriot.
Yeah,
That's what I'm calling him from now on. The Magma Patriot.
I like it.
Thanks.
And then the people fall out of the plane, and we get the famous, I think it's famous scene where he has to get them to link arms.
Yeah. Barrel of Monkeys.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was watching a physics video on YouTube one time. There's a physician. Is that what they're called? Physics professor?
A physicist?
Physicist, thank you. Not a physician. I think a physician works on you, doesn't they? On your knee or something?
Yeah, exactly. A physician, yeah.
Sorry, so a physicist. That sounds weird.
Physicist.
He was a physics teacher at Harvard, I believe, and he had a YouTube video and he was explaining things that make sense or don't make sense in Marvel movies. And one of them was this scene. He was explaining how this doesn't make any sense. He was talking about how you can't electrically shock somebody's arm to then grip and only
stay.
grip.
Yeah.
So he's like, it doesn't really make sense. Another thing I saw too was pointing out that when Jarvis is calling out feet, 18,000 feet or 600 feet or whatever he's saying, apparently it makes absolutely no sense. I never paid attention because it sounds imminent, it's scary, but apparently it's 18,000 feet and then it's 8,000 feet or something like that, and it did that within a few seconds. So you're holy smokes! And then it's then it takes a long time, and then it's 6,000 feet. So it's really slowing down.
Yeah.
But
I get
I don't really care. I mean, it felt cool, but apparently it just made no sense.
You have to give it up for movie timing, right?
Yeah.
The way that time takes place in movies, it's different from how the audience is watching it. And that's from scene to scene, because you'll see scenes back to back that could be happening at the very same time, and you just have to assume that it is happening at the same time, that they're not going to tell you, they're not going to show you a timestamp, right? So it's just one of those things.
I like the small touch where when he drops them into the water, they all kind of just fall in the water, then they kind of raise up their hands yeah, Iron Man.
Yeah.
I like that because that feels like Spider-Man to me. That's what the Marvel thing is for small town heroes.
Yeah.
When it's always you go Spidey or something like that, they just give them a little line. And I miss that. And when you get it for that small glimpse in this movie, I'm more of that, please. That was so nice. I like watching Iron Man do nice things for people, and we don't actually get that much of it in all 3 Iron Man movies. So
yeah, I did like that too, because I think so. Again, it's still showing that he's that it's more Tony using his brains with whatever suit capability he has, because
needed the suit to electrically charge them, needed the suit to fly, though. I mean, without either of those 2 things, and he's nothing. He's dying with them.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it was just stretching past what the suit was able to do, because Jarvis said he could only carry 4, and there were 15?
Oh, good point. Sorry,
15
working
of
in
them?
tandem. Yeah.
Yeah. So the point of it was he was using his brains to an extent to figure out a way so that he could actually save people more than his suit is capable of doing.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like that idea as well, even though it was fairly short lived to see something like that. It's probably one of the only times we see him save humans.
Yes.
In this kind of situation, right? So
I like it though. Yeah. It's a welcome thing. Whoever put that into the script, they were really thinking. I think we needed more of this kind of stuff, I think, in the movie. It was nice to see. I also do actually like how he gets completely wiped out by the bus. I was not expecting it at all. When it happens, you're holy smokes.
Yeah. That was great. And I think that's a good moment too, because we've already seen that Tony can control stuff without the suit, so it's kind of even though he's not in the suit, this is just maybe this is again just showing he doesn't have to be in the suit to be Iron Man, but he doesn't have to be Tony Stark the hero. He can be Tony Stark, Iron Man the hero, that way, whether he's inside the suit or not inside the suit, but still utilizing the suit. Yeah.
Then we get our introduction to our final closing act scene of the shipping container. The big showdown. This is the ultimate showdown on the shipping container.
This is the final countdown.
We're heading to Venus. Nintendo.
Nintendo?
Nintendo. I don't know the lyrics, so
Me too.
I make them up as I go. So, anyways, we get to the shipping container. We find out real quickly that Pepper is infected with the extremists. I think we already knew that from before, but still, it reminds us. And Rhodey and Tony show up, Miami Vice style, yet again on the shipping container.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Grand Theft Auto, which also had like Miami Vice motifs. It reminds me of so many things, but it's just very buddy cop here. Yeah. But I do like it. I actually kind of like the Tony and Rhodey exchange. I love when like Tony pops his head out.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What'd you see?" He's like, "I don't know. I didn't get it."
That was too fast. Yeah.
That is such a good line. Like that made me laugh so hard. I love that. And then I love them bantering about like who can shoot better, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so good. That kind of stuff was really good. And it like made me want to watch just more of them. Like, if this movie was Tony and Rhodey the whole time, that would have been great, I think. But
yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Those were some fun moments, and that makes more sense for us to see him as Tony without the suit. And then finally he does take a big gander and sees that there's a whole bunch of human bombs getting set up to take them out.
Yes. Yeah. And this is just giant action sequence number 42. I don't know why, but this is like one of the most boring action sets for me. Like, because it's just a bunch of random aliens running, sprinting at people. I'm surprised they don't make like really obnoxious noises, like like and shoot out like laser beams. Like, I'm really shocked they don't, but they just happen to be like random stunt people that have CGI effects placed on them. And we get what I named Tony gets the suits to show up, and then we get it where I call it
House Party Protocol.
Yes, House Party Protocol. That's it. I called it the spectacular suit swapping show, but it's it is so like my fiance and I. There was a moment when we both just kind of like looked at each other, and she's like, "Oh," like it was like a visible like just a beat. Whereas like this is just I'm not titillated by watching him jump from suit to suit to suit. And like seeing them kind of blow up as he punches and fights people. It was an interesting idea for a fight scene, but for some reason it's not compelling. I feel like there's no danger all the time.
Yeah, no, that's very true, because if he's not in the suit, like, we almost don't care as much. And if it's just a bunch of like AI things, then there's no, like, for us it's like we aren't the ones who are I don't think we had enough time to feel that same distraction that Tony did, and be so connected with his suits the way that he is. Yeah. So for us to see his suits kind of be put in danger, it's like whatever. Like, we don't really care about that. I like the idea of them being able to bring out all these suits that he's been tinkering with, and they have kind of like different purposes. Like, there's that one that has uses like pressurized whatever to like keep the barge up. Yep. And like. There's the one, can't remember which one it is, but it's like kind of black and goldish, and so Jarvis is in it, and just as he sees like a few of those human bombers, he just says, "Gentlemen," and then all his limbs kind of come out, and like you can't do that if Tony's in the suit, right? So
for sure,
I think it's cool that we get to see some stuff like that, and I like the idea of being able to utilize a whole bunch of different suits. But sure, I think maybe the delivery, maybe the type of scene. Or the reason why we see all the suits would be cooler to see it in a different scenario. And
when you're talking about it, like, I definitely feel bad for not enjoying it. Like, I'm not disparaging anybody who enjoys the scene, for sure. You can obviously have fun with this. There's lots of fun things going on. I don't know what it is though. For when I'm watching it, I feel like I'm not learning anything. I'm not getting any new information. I'm just seeing things. Yeah. Spectacular things that I feel like we've seen in some form or another already, and I'm not particularly wowed by anything or shocked by anything, I guess, that I'm seeing. So it's not as fun for me. Maybe it's because the villain's also not that much of a threat. It's just a bunch of stunt people running around, and then we have Killian, who comes out of nowhere, just kind of be like, "Pepper, I'm still in this movie," and then, and then Pepper. The most shocking thing is when she falls into the explosion onto the freighter. I was not expecting it, and when she falls to die, I'm like, holy smokes. Like, I mean, obviously she's not dead, but I even just like knowing that she's not dead, I was shocked it even went there. I was like, whoa, she's dead.
I was pretty shocked too. I think in that moment I forgot, like watching it in a theaters, that I forgot that she had been injected with the extremis. Me too. And so, I mean, obviously because of that factors in whether or not she would truly die. Like, we don't know what happens when you're in certain phases, but in the moment watching it, I was also very shocked, and I thought it's possible that they could kill her off. I mean, it's the
Yeah,
third
I would have
movie,
been so mad. That would have made me hate this movie even more. But then, so when she dies, we get the fight between between Tony and the Mandarin.
Oh, sorry. Before you mention that, as he's reaching out for Pepper, there's a couple lines, or a line that he says, and I feel like it's him saying it to Pepper, but it's more so, it's almost like it's directed more so at Tony. What is the line? He says something like, I can't stretch any further. You have to reach out to me. You have to let go, and you've got to let go. I'll catch you, I promise. So
right,
I kind of feel like that those lines are more intended for Tony to realize that he's the one that has to let go, because eventually that's what happens, right? He destroys all the suits, so that's him letting go of like what he's been distracted by. He can't reach out any further, but really, like, he's not the one that's reaching out at all, because he's the one that's kind of like being a hermit. He's working on his own, like working on his suits all the time and kind of avoiding other people. So right. I kind of feel like I like that line is there, and that he's reaching out for Pepper with it, because obviously she's the one that he cares about the most out of like anything that we've seen in any of these movies. She's truly the reason why he's probably as happy as he is. So for him to use those lines in this situation, I think that scene was done well, and with the writing as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, and I think you're right. That probably works for the theme of that.
Mm-hmm.
I never even really realized that, but yeah, that makes sense. You're making me realize there's a lot of like nuances to like some of the scenes in this that they went way over my head when I watched it. Maybe I had ape brain when I was watching this movie or something, but I was just very much like, no.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of feeling the same way too, and I obviously wanted to like some things about it. And it was, I think I liked less things than I did before.
Right.
But I think I noticed different things that I didn't before either.
That's a good way of putting it. And I think I'm pretty much in the same boat there. My opinion didn't change of this movie, but there were some things I noticed that I never saw before.
Mm-hmm.
So the Mandarin and Tony fight. I don't really get why Tony doesn't just use all his suits. Why doesn't he just go like Operation like everyone hit Killian? Like it's really weird. Like he tries so hard to fight Killian, and there's all these suits, and you keep thinking, well, maybe all the other suits are distracted by all the other things, but that's not really true either, because he's got so many suits.
Yeah.
At the end is a whole firework display of how many suits are still left over that haven't been used yet. And I was like, just get all the suits to direct at Killian and pin him down. Like, it shouldn't be that hard. I don't know. It's really weird. But eventually, Killian does the thing he shouldn't have done the most, which is say his catchphrase. He says, "I am the Mandarin." It's the worst line in probably
I am the
MCU.
tangerine. He looks like a tangerine.
He does. You're right.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think this is my least favorite line in the whole MCU. I use this line whenever a villain is so cliche and over the top in anything.
Okay.
It doesn't even have to be the MCU. If I'm watching Star Wars and I thought the guy was over the top, I go, "I am the Mandarin." Like, it's just such a bad line. And then it's so bad that Pepper comes back and kills him. She comes back to life and kills him for saying that line. So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So again, Tony is not the one to come rise above things.
Yeah.
I mean, he tries. He blows up his own. I think he blows up Mark 42.
He does.
Yeah, he blows up Mark 42 specifically on Killian, which doesn't work, and then.
And Pepper does the deed, and he's just not a very threatening villain, so we don't really feel all that much remorse in the end. And then Tony just says, like, then Rhodey gets like the president, and Tony says, "Merry Christmas, everyone," and then there's fireworks. And it's like, it really is just like a weird sort of, I guess that was a thing. And now let's just celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, you breathe fire? Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's how that ends. Tony destroys his suits. He makes a promise to cure Pepper of the disease. He's going to fix her. He's going to make her better.
Yeah.
We get a couple smash cuts to some things. The kid, Keener, he gets all the toys and stuff from Tony, a random toy thing.
Like
that's a nice shot.
Of tech updates.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I mean, we got a new Tony Stark maybe in the making, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tony eventually gets the shrapnel removed from his chest.
Yeah, and the narration is, I don't know, since I was at it,
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, okay, well, I might as well get the shrapnel out of my chest. Like, it's such a hindrance that we've seen from the past couple movies.
I know.
Like, that was infecting him
in the second one, he almost died.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're just going to pass it off as like, oh, yeah, well, I'll just get rid of it.
Yeah, whatever.
I might as well.
It's just weird it's in a narration, too. Like, it's not given to us by, like, what's happening in the moment. It's all in the past. It's
yeah.
Like, all right. And so I decided to get the shrapnel removed. And
yeah.
then I got a burrito.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh God, I don't like hearing it that way. It's very weird, and it just ends with the narration, and that's my story.
Yeah.
End of book.
Yeah. And then, well, the post-credit scene is how we see that it is kind of
it's
like
actually.
Yeah. So he's telling a story to Bruce, who is falling asleep. And so there's a couple things about the scene. One, I actually looked up on Reddit to see what. I think I was double checking to see if there were multiple post-credit scenes, and so this one came up, and somebody was talking about how they felt that because Tony was the one narrating the whole time, that due to Tony's characteristic, like his nature, that there were parts of the story that were definitely embellished more than they needed to, which to him explains why the movie is just so weird.
Bad?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and I mean, that's just that person's opinion.
That's an awful way of saying why the movie is the way it is, though.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just make a movie that at the end be like, yeah, but the narrator's untrusting, and that's why the movie's not the same.
So the thing is, you can't rely on post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that's pretty unsubstantial compared to the rest of what happens in the core time frame of the movie. Yeah. You can't rely on that to kind of just like retcon everything that you just watched, right? So... but the other thing about this scene is that when we watched at the end of the Avengers, it was Tony that drove. He drove away with Bruce Banner.
Bruce, yeah.
And then in this scene, he's the one that's hanging out with Bruce. He's telling him about his feelings or whatever, about his PTSD. But I kind of took this as they're trying to show that there's some sort of relationship growing more with him and Bruce, which is why in the next Avengers we get that they are the ones that were working together this whole time, and they eventually accidentally created Ultron.
Yeah, and Vision.
And Vision. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's a good point. It probably does kind of bridge the gap in there.
In a way.
Where we get to in Avengers. I really don't like this post-credit scene. I thought it was played for the laughs, for the jokes.
And
really I didn't find it funny.
Yeah. It was a bit of a different direction from the previous ones because almost all of them leading up to the Avengers was getting the Avengers together so that they could eventually fight against the Chitauri. Yeah. Like the upcoming alien force that they weren't sure was coming or not and what they would be like. And then after the Avengers, it was shawarma. Now, the first movie after that, it's again comedy. So, yeah. less directing towards the like overarching
I also just feel like I don't know if it's Mark Ruffalo or the editing or the writing, but something's off there. He just seems like Mark Ruffalo. He doesn't seem like Bruce Banner in the moment. It seems like it's either like he's acting at 60%, or the writing is so bad that it's not coming off as like real, or the editing is cutting him in at the wrong moment because the way he's reacting to Tony's lines doesn't feel natural. It's very off.
He's very different from how he was in the Avengers. Yeah, so there's a big.
I don't know who to blame for that, but something's off there, and somebody needs to fix it.
Yeah, maybe they just wanted that scene because maybe by the next Avengers movie he's a little bit more animated as Bruce.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him in Avengers 2. I don't think, at least.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is the film. That's Iron Man 3. I think we got a pretty good recap of how we feel about it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but I put this one as my second least favorite out of all of them we've seen so far. Ooh. So Incredible Hulk is my least favorite, obviously. And then this one is my second least favorite film.
Let me check my list. And again, I have not updated it.
Iron Man 3 7th episode, by the way.
This is our... Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Iron Man 3, I haven't even found a place for it. So, and the bottom... My bottom two are... So it's Ant-Man, and then the worst is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, really?
But again, like I haven't filled out the whole list, so once I put more things together, like I'm pretty sure Iron Man 3 is going to fall somewhere next to or below Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
I think I enjoyed Ant-Man more than Iron Man 3. I probably did.
Yeah, I could probably make an argument for that later, but we'll get to it when we get to Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Ant-Man. Yeah. Anyways, Anth0z, let's go into some of our post-film questions. Sure. What was your least favorite character in this whole film?
Ugh. Killian?
Interesting.
Maybe. I don't know. It's just so weird to see where he goes from and what he ends up, and then, like, what's the motivation for him to be why he is the way he is, and it's just, I don't know. I'm left kind of thinking, like, I just have so many why questions for a lot of his scenes.
I agree. My least favorite, though, I will go with what's his name? Trevor Slattery.
I wanted to say Trevor Slattery.
Yeah, those two are my least favorite in this film.
Yeah.
They're just not very fun characters. I don't like them.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Trevor returns in a little Marvel short clip episode.
Oh, does he?
Thing. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a short clip video you can watch of him in prison later on. So there's actually like more of him. It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
What is your best character?
Jarvis.
Yeah.
Probably Jarvis.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
I enjoyed his lines. I like that he is more of a friend, more of an entity, as opposed to just like the slave or the voice that responds to Tony. Right. He's somebody that is actually like he kind of like is starting to understand situations more, and so he can kind of take advantage of like his own knowledge and what he can do with it. I don't know. Just I enjoyed scenes with his voice.
That makes sense.
No.
My favorite in this movie is going to be Happy.
Okay.
Now, it's not because he's comatose most of the movie. It's just because what we do get of him, I actually liked. I was shocked that like every one of his scenes, I like the actions he does, and I like the lines of dialogue, and I think it all makes sense for his character. I do just enjoy it when he's on screen in this movie. Not in the other movies, but in this movie I do. And so I think he was the best character.
Yeah. Now think about both of our answers for best character. It's the ones who were like barely in the movie the least. Yeah, it's just that's what we think about this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Which question do you want to ask?
Let's see. Let's go with the sequel one.
Okay. Yeah. What if this movie had a sequel? Where would you go with it?
So, okay, the reason why I wanted to ask this one is because, first of all, like, he removed the shrapnel and then he cured Pepper. So I feel like if he's kind of... We've finished some aspects of Tony, but then there should be a sort of like a what next? Or like it'd be nice to see a what next, and then it'd also be kind of cool to see what happens with Harley as he grows up, knowing that, like, especially when... Okay, so he knew Tony for like a very short amount of time, but he's at Tony's funeral at Endgame. Yeah. So I feel like there should be more with his involvement, like in the movies. Yeah,
and maybe Tony inspired him to become his own superhero, and like he did his own things where he like tinkered around. He could be the tinkerer. He could be who tinks.
he just tinks.
That's all he does. And so if Tony was an inspiration for him, then maybe that's why.
Mm-hmm. I can't quite think of any specific sequel concept because I just don't really know enough about the Iron Man. Actually, you know what? Maybe a little bit more towards Iron Man, like Tony. So the way that he gets in Civil War, maybe I would have liked a movie that kind of created a little bit more build-up where he becomes so against Captain America's ideals, but also so in line with structure, with government policy. Yeah. So maybe seeing a movie that is kind of showing more hints of that, I think would make more sense, or would help to show why his character is the way he is by the time we get to Civil War. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
How about you? If I was to make a sequel, I'd find it really hard not to call it the squeakquel, but I would call it Iron Man 4. I'm going to go outside the box here, and I'm going to say we should do a Halloween edition this time. We already had a Christmas episode, so why not just do a Halloween one? So this one would be, you're in for a scare, Tony Stark, and the villain would be a ghost who's haunting a amusement park.
Cool.
And Tony and the gang, Scooby-Doo. Yep. Tony and the gang have to go and discover how to stop the ghost. And
he goes out on Halloween and everybody's in Iron Man costumes.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a single kid not wearing Iron Man. Every single person is in an Iron Man costume. Yeah.
That's my legit sequel. This movie, I don't know how else you sequelize it.
Oh, and then we get that scene where like people have like they've recreated their own kind of effects to mimic Iron Man's actual like weaponry and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Oh no, I'm the Iron Man." He shows it off to Tony. Tony shows his real stuff, and they're like, "No, that's fake." It's one of those cliche scenes, but I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it too. I could also see an I am Spartacus moment. I am the real Iron Man.
Yeah.
I am the real Iron Man. All these like kids' dads who are like dressed as Iron Man.
Yeah.
Trying to help Iron Man in a situation.
Yeah.
And then like the villain doesn't know which one the real Iron Man is. He's like, oh, he's like overwhelmed. Oh, what a horrible sequel that would be. But anyways, thank you guys for listening to this podcast. That is the end of our Iron Man 3 podcast. I'm honestly kind of glad we're over it.
And
I don't want to watch this movie again.
That's the end of the Iron Man. Yeah, that's the end. Excuse me. Oh, burping. That's the end of Iron Man. Yes, the Iron Man is dead. There's no more Iron Man.
Now he's Cameo Man. He's just in every other movie.
Yeah.
Okay, well, everyone, be sure to watch our next Marvel Marathon episode, which is actually, surprisingly enough, going to be Thor: The Dark World.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm excited because I don't remember what I thought of this movie, so we're just going to go there, I guess.
Think I liked it less than the other Thor movies, but more than Iron Man 3, so it's a yay.
Exactly. We have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah. Pretty much.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.